Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'm going to be doing an unboxing, first workout, and first impressions of the brand new Under Armour weightlifting shoes. So this is the Under Armour lifter, or at least I believe that's what it's being called. And so for additional context here, because I definitely think there's some needed, I have no idea when this model comes out in the US. I had a couple of subscribers send me that the shoe is posted on other sites overseas. So I went on eBay, picked up this pair, I believe from a Polish-based site. So they are out there, but I have no idea when they're coming out in the US. And so if you do ever decide to buy through eBay like I do for most of my shoes like this, do note that you run the risk of two things. Number one, you are gonna be paying more. And then number two, you can always get a counterfeit shoe, but overall the shoe doesn't look counterfeit thus far. And I haven't had issues with that in the past. So let's hope that stands true. But I'm super stoked on this pair because Under Armour has never made a weightlifting shoe. And so I'm super excited to put these to the test and see how they compare to like the Reebok Legacy Lifter 3, the Adidas Adi Power 3, and the Anta 2, which are all models that I just recently reviewed on the channel. Definitely check those out if you haven't yet. So a couple of first impressions that I'm having with this shoe is number one, heel feels pretty dang stable. We have a TPU injected heel back here, full rubber outsole, so I like that. I don't think tread is going to be an issue or traction is going to be an issue for that matter in this shoe. They look pretty dang clean with their design. Now they do have a heavier leatherish upper up here going through the forefoot into the midfoot, so I am curious how the breathability is going to be because it doesn't look like there's much ventilation at all through the forefoot and midfoot of this shoe. We have a singular strap here. We do have a metal base here, which I personally like. I find that that typically lasts a little bit longer than plastics used in weightlifting shoes regarding their straps. The strap length looks pretty good. Like obviously I need to put them on and see how the stability is. We have a pretty thin tongue. The tongue reminds me kind of like the tongue that you got in the ROM 3. It's a little bit lighter in nature, a little bit more mesh. There is 2 layers here, so I don't think rip is going to be an issue with this tongue, but since we do have these tabs here, definitely be careful if you do invest in this shoe when it finally goes live. But that's just the first thought I have with the tongue based off of prior experiences of ripping the tongue of my Metcons and ROMs that had that similar thin mesh. It kind of looks like a blend of a couple of different weightlifting shoes. Like it looks like we have a good volume to the upper up here, so it kind of reminds me of like how much volume you have in the Anta 2. But then when it comes to the heel construction, it kind of reminds me of like that Adi Power 3 construction with that kind of like flared out TPU heel that also wraps a little bit up into the midfoot and heel on the medial and lateral side to give you additional support. That could also stand true for the Legacy Lifter 3 because that model also has a higher boot. But I'm curious to see how this shoe performs, and I'm really curious to see how the sole feels when training and what the effective heel height is because I could not find anything on the effective heel height. So I'm going to put this shoe on compared to a couple other lifters and try to get like a baseline idea to give you an idea. Obviously, I am not the company giving you direct specs. So when I do give that after my session, when I share some thoughts, definitely take that with a grain of salt. But let's go train in the shoe. I have some power cleans and front squats today. So perfect workout to break these in. I will see you though for the post-workout breakdown. So we started out today's session with a little complex, so hit a power clean, then do 2 front squats. Bill do a challenging first set, so right here we have 265, and then back off the load by 10% for 3 sets. Now, the Under Armour lifter felt pretty good for these sets, but I do think the effective heel height is a little bit lower than what I've been using. So for context, for example, I just tested the Anta 2 and the Reebok Legacy Lifter 3, which had higher heel heights. And so if you're watching my front squats here, I'm doing 2 things. Number one, I'm playing with my stance with my coach. So I've actually widened my stance. So that's also like why I'm a little bit off with my hip and torso mechanics in these sets. But I think because the heel height is lower and I resonate with higher heels, that's also why I took a moment to like kind of adjust. So I think I need another couple sessions to really adjust that heel height. I would guess that it feels like around like 0.65, 0.7 inches. Then we moved into running after our front squat. So essentially hit 3 triples at 315 for front squat. Then we went into running 2 half miles at a nice easy 6 out of 10 pace for a warm up and cool down, and then run 4 200 meters at a 5 to 5:10 mile pace. Finished off this session here with some kickstand RDLs with dumbbells, hit 45 pounds here, rocking the Vivo Barefoot Primus Trail Knit FGs. Honestly, these have been pretty freaking solid, and I have a review coming out on them in the future as well. I have one more deadlift session this week and a nice versatile session where I'm going to be doing some multi-directional work on turf in them, but thus far, they've been a pretty freaking solid daily wear lifting / hiking hybrid, so I will have more info on that. But with the Under Armour lifter, pretty decent performance. I would guess the heel height sits around like 0.7, 0.65 inches. All right, welcome to the post-workout breakdown of the Under Armour lifter. So I have 3 first impression thoughts on this model based on their first workout, and I have some sizing thoughts on them as well. So my first impression is this model I'm hoping breaks in because this midfoot strap I could see being a problem for some lifters. And now more specifically, and to elaborate a little bit, the midfoot strap is a little bit low down here into the midfoot. So what ends up happening and what I noticed is that I had to crank the laces kind of tight to really lock down my foot because I was kind of having a little bit, and not full slip to where I was losing out on the shoe's security, but a little bit of movement back here on the heel. So if you have narrow feet or if you have low volume feet, I could see this potentially being an issue, and I'm hoping as time goes on, hopefully this toe box breaks in a little bit more so I don't need as much security through the top of the midfoot here. But I do wish this strap was brought up a tiny bit. I think even if they brought it up a centimeter, it would give you much more security because again, with this light tongue like I discussed earlier in this video, and with the low strap here, I worry that it's not going to necessarily give you the most security for certain foot anatomies, and more specifically narrow feet and low volume feet. My second first impression is that the shoe runs pretty dang hot. So I don't think that's going to be the biggest issue for some lifters, and if you're just using them for squats and you're taking them off, or if you're just using them for like your cleans and snatches and then you're taking them off, that shouldn't be the biggest deal. However, today I wore them for cleans and front squats and my feet were pretty dang hot. When I took off this shoe and put on my running shoe, when I transitioned into my running for this workout, I noticed like how damp my sock was because these puppies do run pretty hot, and that's because there's no ventilation up here through the forefoot and midfoot. So I think it would be nice to have a little bit more breathability in this model, especially in the context of wearing this model for longer sessions in the gym. My third first impression with this shoe is that it's a pretty strong shoe, and I think it will work for most folks, especially more recreational lifters. But I think I'm having a tough time right now based off my first workout, trying to decide like, okay, does this model outperform the Legacy Lifter 3, the AdiPower 3, the Nike ROM 4, the Anta 2? And right now, I don't think it does. I put this model into a similar class as like the Savaleos and the Powerlift. They're good shoes. However, I don't necessarily think that they're like the top of the line weightlifting shoe at the moment. So I need more sessions in this model though before I can draw that conclusion, because I want to actually wear this model and then transition into another pair during one of my workouts to see if I notice a big difference there, especially with this midfoot security that I already discussed. But overall, I would put this model's performance at like a 7 out of 10. Like it's a strong C based off my first workout in them thus far. When it comes to their price, I actually don't know the price at the moment. Off the site I bought them from on eBay, they were like 201 USD, and then I paid for taxes and overseas shipping, so it was a little bit higher. So I'm curious in USD when this model drops, what this shoe is going to cost, because if it comes out to 200 USD, honestly, I don't know if this shoe is going to be worth that price point, especially when you look at other models on the market that have lower price points or similar price points that kind of outperform this shoe. And do note that is very premature for me to say because it is based on my first workout. But if this model does have a true 200 USD price point, I think it's going to be tough trying to figure out like, okay, is this model actually worth that price? Now, if this model was like a 140 to like 160, even 180, that could be a little bit more justified. But again, I want more sessions in the shoe. And actually for my next session, I'm going to try putting the lace down here into the bottom eyelet versus having the lace lock to prevent heel slip, because I think that might help a little bit. I might even just lace lock it and just see if that helps too. So that could help. But again, like, honestly, like I wish that wasn't a problem in the first place. And then talking on sizing of this shoe, I think most folks should be safe going true to size in this model. This model has more of like a regular or neutral width fit in my opinion. The length runs pretty true. I didn't have really any limitations regarding width. Granted, it isn't the widest toe box on the market, so if you do have wide feet, you might want to consider that. But I do think the shoe should fit true to size for most folks. Now, if you do have narrow width feet, you might want to go down a half size just because this strap system here, and I'm not convinced it's going to give you enough security to prevent that heel kind of popping out. But I think that might be the only exception regarding sizing. I'm going to put the shoe on once again and compare it to other models in the next week. So I will have more definitive sizing thoughts in my full review that will roll out for this shoe. This model is okay. It's like a 7 out of 10 once again. It's pretty standard regarding its overall performance, has good traction, decent stability, but the security is a little bit worrisome in this model. So if you are interested in the full review of this shoe, that will come out in the future, so definitely stick around for that. And if you have questions in the meantime on this model, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And then once again, just before we wrap this video up, I do not know when this shoe is coming out, and I do apologize for not having info there, but I think it's safe to say we can expect a weightlifting shoe from Under Armour coming out hopefully in the next quarter or two, depending on when they're planning to release it in the USD and across the globe in other parts of the world. But as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. it.